Let's take some types of probabilities which we will obviously use in our this gene finding kind of problems. So one amongst them is the marginal probability. So marginal probability is the probability of an event occurring. So it's the individual or the probability alone of something. So for example, if you want to know the probability of event A, its marginal probability is P of A. So it may be thought of as an unconditional probability. So it is not linked with anything else. It's just probability of seeing that event. So for example, the probability of rolling I is Pi. So in that case, this is a marginal probability. We can get the marginal probability of an event like, for example, one of the outcome is 2. So probability of seeing this 2 is 1 by 6. So in that case, this probability is not dependent on something, or it is not related to some other probability. So we can call it as an individual probability or marginal probability. Joint probability is the probability of A and B occurring together. So maybe intersection of two events. It can be intersection of these two events, or we can have more than two events. So what is the probability of seeing them together is the joint probability. So normally it's represented as this AND, the probability of A and B, which is also the probability of their intersections. The probability of rolling I from dj is P of I comma dj. So that is the representation. So here we want to see the joint probability of rolling a number, say for example a number 2, and from a die which is actually die 1. So we are taking two dice. So one is d1 and one is d2. So what is the probability of getting 2 in d1? So in that case, the probability of d1 is 1 by 2, since we have two dice. So we can use any one of them. So probability of each of them is half. So one is the probability of that individual die, and then second is the probability of seeing that number. So probability of seeing this number 2 within each die is 1 by 6. So if we want to take their joint probability, we can simply get their product, which is 1 by 2 into 1 by 6. So the joint probability here is 1 by 12. Conditional probabilities are the probabilities where you can get the probability of one thing while the other one is already occurred. So in this case, for example, the probability of rolling a 2 from D1. So you already picked up D1, whereas what is the probability of seeing 2 in it? So in this case, now you have a conditional probability or a kind of a dependent probability. So you have already picked up D1, right? So in this case, you are not getting the probability of 2 and D1. You are getting the probability of 2 while D1. So you picked already D1. So within D1, the probability of seeing 2 is obviously 1 by 6. So we denote this conditional probability with this this sign, this straight line. We can put these marginal probabilities and these joint probabilities together in this equation where we can say P of x comma y is given by P of x while y into P of y. So with this equation, you can have their joint probability and their conditional probability and their independent probability put together. So this is the equation which we'll be using a similar kind of equation in our next topic, Bayes theorem. So we are trying to make a background for that. So here we can use this equation to get those marginal probabilities. So if we want to get the marginal probability, for example, for any event like x here, we can get it through this equation where we have this P of x is summation over all values of y. For all y's, we are actually getting the probability of x. So if there are, for example, you are getting the probability of 2 from die 1 and die 2. So in that case, summation over all dies. So what is in 1 and what is in 2. So we put them together so we can have the total probabilities, and from where you can get the probability of this independent event like probability of getting 2. So this is the equation which relates all these probabilities with one another. Two events are said to be independent if the occurrence of one has no effect on occurrence of other. So in that case, we can call these kind of events as independent events. Examples are here, you can see them. For independent events, P of A while B. So as we have seen in the previous one, where we have the dependent events, our conditional probability was there. So here there is no condition, so B has been occurred, but it has no effect on A. So in this case, P of A while B is same as is equal to P of A. Similarly, P of B while A is equal to P of B. So there is no effect of the event which has already occurred. So two events A and B are independent if the probability of event A is the same whether or not B has occurred. So in this section, we have seen that marginal probability is the probability of individual event, while joint probability is the probability of two events occurring together, and conditional probability is probability of one event while other has occurred. And for independent events, we have seen that the occurrence of one event does not influence the other one.